I've been taking oral minoxidil tablets for about 7 months, I think. A bit more than 7 months. And it's been a while since I last updated you guys on how I'm doing so far, and but before we start, let's get out of the way the basic questions. My name is Rolandas. I had 2 hair transplants with Dr. Blooper in Portugal, 6,500 grafts. I was Norwood 5A. I've been taking Finasteride oral tablets 1 mg per day for about 2.5 years. So I started 6 months before my first transplant, and then I went through all my transplants and everything. I tried topical minoxidil with microneedling for 12 months before my first transplant. I've seen some regrowth, some thickening of my native thinning hair, but it was not enough to avoid 2 transplants anyway, so I decided to stop it completely, never to come back. And I started oral minoxidil after my second transplant, about a week after. And my main reason was just to see if I'm gonna be able to regrow some of these miniaturized thin hairs in the mid-scalp and crown. And since some recent studies suggest that oral minoxidil could be superior to topical minoxidil, I decided to try it for myself. And the most important question I'm getting asked every single day is where you can buy oral minoxidil. And I've got a good news for you, my friends. I've done a whole video talking about clinics, doctors, how much they're prescribing, how much it costs, etc. I'm gonna put a link in the description down below for this video, and also so much just over here. Oh, one more thing, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to be educated on hair transplants and hair loss, because there's so much shit out there. Alright, oral minoxidil. So it's been more than 7 months. Do I have any side effects? Yes! Surprise, surprise. And there are a few of them, and one of them I already mentioned in the past is slight hypertrichosis, which is pretty common, to be honest, for someone who is using oral minoxidil. I'm using 2.5 milligrams, so it's not a really high dose, but hypertrichosis for me personally occurred specifically in the areas in between the eyebrow and the temple peak. There's a few tiny hairs that were like a vellus, transparent, basically translucent hair. They just got some pigment in it, and they are kind of visible a little bit more, but really not that bothering too much, and you really need to look closely into them to see, so I can just plug them off in a matter of 30 seconds. Another thing that caught my eye quite recently, actually, and I really didn't think about it, is other body hairs on my body. For example, hairs on my forearm, I think they got slightly darker. If I remember correctly, they didn't have as much pigment as they do have right now. So yeah, but again, I'm not really that hairy, so it's not really much. I haven't noticed anything else in my body. Again, it's quite possible that some hairs got some more pigment, some more thickness to the hair shaft, but I haven't noticed anything substantial that's stands out. Some people believe you're gonna become like a werewolf. Very unlikely. In terms of blood pressure, it didn't change much, if any. I've been monitoring it before I started the treatment, then for the first couple of weeks after I started the treatment, then when I increased my dosage from 1 milligram to 2.5 milligram, and I was monitoring it again, and I really didn't see any difference. And just right now, I did check it once again, and to me it looks like exactly the same like it was 5 months ago. So really no change. Still stays in the same normal range. I've been going consistently to the gym for the last half a year, and I haven't noticed any effect on the performance or anything. I'm not running out of breath, and my heart rate seems pretty much the same like it was before. So I don't think it had any really bad effect on my heart in this case. And that's about it about the side effects. Really nothing else. I've been consistently taking 2.5 milligram every single day, and to be honest, I feel exactly like I used to feel before I started this drug, literally no difference. So yeah, I think it's a good sign. It's been 7 months, and so far so good. If we're talking about efficacy, what I experienced is really difficult to analyze since I started using it after my second transplant. My point was not to document how well the drug works. According to the studies, I'm convinced it works really well for vast majority, if not for everyone. But the only area that was not touched with the transplant is the crown, specifically the whorl. And this is the area I was focusing on my previous updates on oral minoxidil, so let's have a look. If we're looking at this picture that I've taken just today, and again, crown, so there's transplanted area finished over here. I had pretty strong area of hairs in this area, and in these 2 spots they're a little bit thinner than the rest of the scalp, but the reason Dr. Ferrer didn't want to transplant anything in there as of right now because there's a lot of hairs that, it still gives pretty good, illusion of density. There is really no point to do a transplant in that area, at least right now. And if you look closely, it kind of stands out compared to other areas, but not really that much. This picture was taken in front of the window during the day, so it's like a direct bright daylight is, going straight to the area, so it's a really natural kind of, result. By the way, this is how you have to document, your pictures. Specifically the whorl, it really doesn't look that bad. There's a lot of hairs. It's a little bit thinner, of course. There's a lot of thin hairs. And if you compare it to this picture that was taken in the end of September, it was about 4 months being on Oral Minoxidil. So again, crown specifically. It looks like it improved a little bit. There is definitely some improvement, because if you just look again, here there was the end of the transplanted area, so all of this area was, to my eye, was a bit thinner than this over here. I took both of these pictures at the same place in the middle of the day, not under the direct sunlight, but in front of the daylight basically. It's really hard to tell if there is a new hair sprouted, but there is definitely an improvement, and to be honest, I'm absolutely happy right now with whatever I got. Another thing I wanted to know that I noticed recently, increased shedding of the hair, specifically when I'm taking a shower and I'm putting shampoo. A lot of thin miniaturized hairs. These are definitely not transplanted because they're really, really thin. And if you remember, I had quite a lot of really thin miniaturized hairs in my mid scalp and crown that Oral Minoxidil gave a pretty great boost, I think. So instead of freaking out like most guys are when they see again hair loss, it's actually absolutely normal. It's a part of our hair growth cycles. And if you want to learn more about hair growth cycles, I made a whole video explaining everything about it, so you can click just over here. Since the hair is going through, growth phases, it's normal that's gonna fall off and start growing again, then again fall off again and start growing again. And I haven't noticed any specific shedding beforehand, so I think it's about time, since I've been on Oral Minoxidil for about 7 months, for the hair loss cycle to finish. And they're gonna start growing back again after about 100 days. Remember, the more miniaturized the hair is, the shorter amount of time it grows before shedding and go through all these phases. And this is what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm absolutely not freaking out. It's definitely not transplanted hairs because they're like a really soft. God, I wish I could have taken a picture or a video or something. It was quite a few actually. I remember I was in the bathroom counting. It was like maybe 15 or 20 hairs on one hand, and on the second hand was like another 10. I was like, okay, we are back to square one. Okay, I'm joking, that's not square one, but absolutely normal. And even with that, I still think I've got pretty good head of hair. So, Minoxidil, Finasteride, hair transplants, boom. Once again, if you want to learn more about hair growth cycles, make sure to check out this video here. Stay tuned. Slowly, but still skinny.